Hey Rad World, I'm Tony Walters, and today we're talking Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. Alright, James Gunn is back, directing these a-holes through another galactic adventure. This adventure's main theme is family. Now, just like the Fast and Furious franchise, this might not be a family that you want to cross. This is a great theme for this group of characters because, similar to that of like the X-Men maybe, friends are people who you find and you hang out with because you like them, where your family might not be the case. Your family are the people who have your back no matter what, even if you don't get along that well. And that is exactly what this movie is about. The thing this movie does well is focus heavily on the majority of the characters, explaining a little bit more of their backstory, where they come from, and what that means going forward. Now, in most sequels, it's just bigger explosions, bigger action. This movie's not necessarily that, but it does up the ante a little bit on those aspects, but not to the point of, oh, they just threw more money at this movie. This movie does try to flesh out our characters a little bit more and ground them, because the next time we see these characters, they're going to be sitting right alongside, the Avengers, who are, for the majority, very well-grounded characters on Earth. The problem with doing this is that this movie is very, very exposition heavy. The character of Ego, played by Kurt Russell, is a great character. I thoroughly enjoy moments of his character, but there is a majority of the movie that is just him explaining things to you, and that is never a good thing in a movie when it's just story time. I feel like there may have been a more creative way they could have went about that. I do enjoy some of the other decisions that James Gunn made using Ego, the Living Planet, in this movie. The best thing about Guardians of the Galaxy, and the best thing about letting James Gunn head this whole project, is that he likes weird movies, he likes comic books, and comic books are weird. And they allow James Gunn to be weird. I imagine they probably have to rein him in from time to time. There are decisions that are made in this movie that I absolutely love, being a comic book fan and being a fan of just weird things. Like, these movies are based on comic books, allow them to be weird and fun. So we learn more about Peter Quill, we learn a lot about Gamora and Nebula, and, they're sisters, and they grew up raised by Thanos, so we get to find out what that means exactly and how that upbringing was, because you got to imagine that wasn't the greatest upbringing. So we get more backstory on them. We get a little bit of touches on Drax, but not so much, about as much as what we got in the first one. The two standout characters in the movie for me are Rocket and Yondu. What we learn about their two characters and the growth and their arc in this film is far better than anybody else. I was thoroughly pleased with how they treated these characters, and the performance given by Michael Rooker in this movie is probably one of the best performances that he's ever given in any movie. He is absolutely fantastic as this character, more so than what he did in the first movie. He brought a lot of heart to this character, a lot of charisma, and I applaud the guy for it. This is probably my favorite role that I've ever seen him in, and he's done a lot of different kinds of roles in his career, and this is definitely up there. It's my favorite role he's ever done. Another brilliant decision James Gunn makes in this movie is to use Drax solely as the comedic relief, and it works absolutely perfectly. His character breaks the tension in so many different sequences, and he's extremely funny. There's nothing better than seeing somebody, Drax the Destroyer, the scariest probably of all of the Guardians, somebody you would not want to mess with, be the absolute funniest person in the room every single time, and it's just because of his, of his inability to communicate with people who have a little bit more humanity than himself. All right, I think we talked about all the characters. Let's talk about Baby Groot. Now, Baby Groot is adorable and funny and is exploited throughout the entire film for cute little gags, and as much as you know that they're just doing this just to get you in the seats, and buy toys, it works way too well every time Baby Groot's on screen. I can't help it. I just, it's just adorable. You laugh, you giggle, everybody in the crowd. I mean, I was in a packed IMAX theater opening night, first showing, and as soon as Baby Groot's on screen, whole theater, oh. Everybody, every time he's on screen. It was adorable. I was right there with him. Baby Groot! I say Baby Groot like I say Tiny Rick. Tiny Rick! Same thing. That's great. One of the gripes that I have is a CG gripe, and they CG some people in a sequence, and it's not like they didn't get the skin textures right or things like that. It's that the way that they're animated is very cartoony, and it's intentionally cartoony. And I have a small issue with that solely because the movie, for the most part, seems like it is trying to ground these characters a little bit more to prep them for future films. And these sequences where they just kind of blatantly make the movie a cartoon, it didn't sit well with me, but it's just a real quick thing that happens a couple of times that made me just come out of the movie a bit. But don't get me wrong, this movie is absolutely fun. I had a fantastic time. I loved sitting in that packed IMAX theater with a ton of fans. It was a great group of people to watch it with on a huge, huge screen and in IMAX 3D. And that's how you need to see it. Go see it, IMAX 3D, and just stuff your face full of popcorn, because that's what this is. This is a summer blockbuster popcorn movie to the max. This is the definition of what that is, and I couldn't be more happier with it. Is it as good as the first movie? I'm gonna say no, but what the first movie did was it created a fun, weird universe. It showed us that comic book movies didn't have to be your typical superheroes. It could be a sci-fi opera, and we could fall in love with that. But I think that this movie, what it does better is it grounds these characters, sets them up for future films, and is very much the legwork for what could be an amazing trilogy. Guardians of the Galaxy gets an 8 out of 10. I thought this was a fun summer blockbuster movie that gave our characters a little bit more depth than what I initially expected going in. All I wanted from this movie was some fun, some comedy, some action, and just, you know, to see these group of characters get into some trouble again, and that's exactly what we got. If you like this video, be sure to let us know by hitting that like button. Subscribe for more videos just like this one. Head on over to Rad Games if you like some video game plays, and check out all the other content we have right here on Rad Entertainment. We'll see you guys next week on Rad Movies.